Hi, we're here with Dan Jordan of Again L.A. Estate Sales in Los Angeles, California. Dan has been in the business for over 20 years, very successful at it, and we're currently in a part of Los Angeles called Victoria Park. I wanted to have an opportunity to talk to Dan today and have you hear about his sales and also about the estate sale business and what he sees as the broader picture for the market.
Is that all?
That's all.
What do I see in the market? I think the market's actually beginning to shoot off. It's shoot off's probably a bad word, but take off, because as we all know, the baby boomers are growing older. You know, I'm a 64 baby, so I'm the tail end of it. In the next 20 years, there's going to be a lot of estate sales, and I think that coupled with the tough economy is why we have so many people entering this business, which has kind of gotten ridiculous. I think LA is over 200 liquidators at this point. When I started, I think there was maybe 20. But that's okay. Competition's good, and there's a growing market. What's not so good is probably a lot of people who have no damn idea what they're doing and don't belong in it. People who either were unsuccessful in their stores and closed them, or unsuccessful in another business and can't find a job and decided to enter in this one. Or, the natural progression with the loss of people's interest in antiques. A lot of antique dealers automatically assume they can liquidate an estate, which is not really true anymore, because antiques, if they're soft in the retail market, they're not that desirable, and they're even harder to sell in quote unquote a wholesale market, which is what an estate sale would be classified as. So a lot of money in the homes is being lost by people who don't know what they're doing, but we're off subject. The market that changes. The biggest change facing the market is the fact that kids can no longer afford homes of the same size as their parents. And young people, even young families, cannot aspire necessarily to have a home the same size as their parents, or the same size a similar family would have had even 20 years ago. The housing market in LA, for example, homes have gone up in some areas as much as 10 times. I would say on average at least 6 times. Welcome to LA. We've got a siren. We'll be going by shortly. There it goes. And as a result, a lot of people who are downsizing because their kids are gone, or they can't afford their homes, or people that are leaving Los Angeles because they want to cash out and sell their bigger home and move somewhere else, the market in LA is flooded. And so we've got a glut of furniture, which is hard to move. We've got populace that doesn't have the money they used to have on extra purchases. We've got a shrinking percentage of buyers who traditionally bought lower price items within homes. The working class, for example, a lot of them are not working. A lot of them have left Los Angeles, for example. Whereas we would have a working class family pull up with mom, dad, grandma, and 14 kids in the car on a Saturday, all jumping out, coming in and buying tons of stuff. That's gone. Our typical buyer is probably in the late 30s, 40s. That's changed. When I started, a lot of kids were into collectibles. When I say kids, I mean 20 and 30 years old. That's a very smaller percentage of the market. Hardly any 20-year-olds. They're more into IKEA. It's a whole different world out there. It's changed.
Do you think this is pretty much the national scene as well?
I would imagine, from conversations, with different online groups that I belong to of estate liquidators, the same challenges seem to be facing us around the country. Some things are stronger in other areas than they are here. You don't have to tiptoe, Hale. It's okay. Go ahead. That was one of my helpers. We're setting up a house right now. I lost my train. Where was I, Carol?
We were talking about the national scene.
National scene. The problems are universal. As far as the big antique furniture, I just saw several articles out of Europe where big antique stores in Europe are closing. The ones even servicing the 1%, as they put it, they're closing down shop. And when you have the 1% not buying the antique stuff, and that trickles down even down to grandma's mahogany furniture, that's an issue. So you've got to find new markets. One of the things that my partner and I have discovered, interestingly enough, is that the biggest collectors for us of vintage items and antique furniture has been the Latino market, which is growing, has been the Asian market, which is growing, particularly in China. It's a huge market. The Middle Eastern market, very strong purchasers of better quality antiques, better quality smalls. I say better, I'm talking like Meissen, that type of thing, not grandma's rose china. Sterling, gold, those markets. That's changed. The days of the little old ladies selling to like other little old ladies and being a very waspy kind of business, that's gone. Most WASP are happier with IKEA, I think, than they are collectibles.
Tell me a little bit about, you have the sale that we saw earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
That was the home of a minimalist, but yet he has several really fine pieces, but it's more a mid-century modern
vibe.
Yeah.
Well, his home was furnished. He purchased things. He was a composer. He had lots of money. He bought the best across the board. The piano's a Yamaha Grand. All of his furniture's either like Knoll, Herman Miller, Cassina, several different Artec, several different high-end manufacturers. But it's all based on classic designs. Some of the stuff, like we had a chair there, the Mondrian chair, which is actually designed turn of the century, but still being produced. I think that chair retails $3,800. I think we've got $1,200 on it, and we'll be lucky to get half that, because once again, the 1% aren't going to come in and swoop down to buy that because they just assume go buy it new. They don't want somebody else's used. It's out of the realm of your typical middle class buyer. As far as the true collector, it's a new piece in their mind, so they don't care. It's one of those quandary pieces, and a lot of stuff within that home is like that. It's still expensive, but it's not as expensive as it was when it was made.
And I saw all the research work that you did on that. Tell me a little bit for a moment about how much research time you spend, say, on that house.
That house probably 12 to 14 hours total research time, and that was a minimalist house. That was pulling contemporary auction records, eBay, and retail and used retail, off of Google and off different websites. And then you kind of have to sit down and figure your average, figure your market here in LA, and kind of balance it with your past experience to see what you'll get for it. And then guess what is going to sell first at the maximum price you can get, and then what is going to be doomed to go half off, and then adjusting that price so it's a little higher, so maybe you'll hit pay dirt, but the odds are you're probably going to sell it half off, but you don't want half off to be too low because then your client's going to be upset. So it's kind of a tight wire act.
Well, I know from past experience, we met 3 years ago, and we've stayed in constant touch since then. You have become extraordinarily successful, have a huge referral business from past clients to future clients, and that's just further proof of what a great job you and Again LA Estate Sales are doing out here in Los Angeles.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you taking the time out, because I know you've got 2 sales this weekend, to talk with us.
No
So
problem.
thanks, and we wish you much success.
Thank you.